good time. We have a good time? Did we dance yesterday? Was that yesterday? Yeah, so y'all missed the sophomores and freshmen, y'all missed the dancing. Y'all spent some time with the 8th graders. You know, 8th graders are weird, right? I don't mean to say that in a bad way. I like 8th graders. My kids were both 8th graders. But something happens when you get to that 8th grade phase of life that you just kind of get stanky, like a stanky attitude. And that's normal, right? Because you're trying to figure out who you are. So, 8th graders, I hope you don't stay in your funk for too long. My daughter stayed in hers until she was a junior. So juniors, y'all are like good now, right? Do y'all realize how y'all were when y'all 8th graders and juniors? Y'all feel like better? You feel like, oh, I can breathe now? Juniors, yes, okay, I don't know. That's what my experience. Well, we're going to continue our topic, becoming me, looking for this ideal life. And this is what you missed yesterday, freshman and sophomore. We talked about your everyday life, like just taking your everyday, ordinary, walking around life and presenting that before God. And another version of this scripture says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will. A lot of times we try to make our Christian walk, we try to make it all complicated, and we put all these rules and regulations before it, all this criteria, what it means to be a Christian. They write thousands and thousands of books of how to live this Christian life. And I say it's just simple. Just take your everyday life. Start where you are right now. Start making a difference right now. How you treat people, the person next to you, the people that you see each and every day. How do you interact with one another? That's just a simple thing. Take your each and every day, your ordinary life, and don't get so caught up in what's going on around you that you start to mistreat people, that you become so ingrained into this culture that you become insensitive and you forget where God is calling you. That's basically all it's saying. And so this ideal life, I decide, that's what we talked about yesterday, I decide what direction you're going to go. Once you figure out who you are, decide where you're going to be, where you're going to go, what direction you're going to head in your life. Today we're going to talk about these two things, evolution and advancement, which they're kind of similar things. So what's the difference? But I also gave you all some homework yesterday. I had a nice picture of a comet, and I said you have to figure out how you're going to have the impact. Start now. Don't wait. What are some things that you can start doing right now to develop your gifts to live out that calling? Don't wait till everything is perfect, but start right now. So the ideal life, staying relevant is part of evolution, and honing your edge and your skills. And sometimes those things seem very similar to me as we think about living out our call, as we think about what direction we're going in. We've set this direction, so what's next? You decided what you're going to do, what's next? You figured, hey, God is calling me to be a musician, so what are the next steps? God's called me to be a great athlete, what's next? God's called me to be a great, phenomenal preacher, what's next? So I want to show you using the analogy, using this knife, a knife. So evolution is like this. I don't know if you know, like some people think this thing, you all know what this is called right here? It's called a steel, right? It's a steel. So a lot of people think that sharpens a knife, and it doesn't. It doesn't sharpen a knife. This sharpens a knife. You need like a stone, and you grind the stone. So this is the part of evolution. Grind the stone until you create an edge on a knife. You want to create an edge to make it sharp, right? That's what cuts. You make it sharp. But what happens over time as you use knife, even just as soon as you use it, the kind of like the metal fiber starts, they're like this when you first start cutting, then they start to kind of get like this. And then what you do when you hone the knife, it brings those fibers back. So it fine-tunes that edge. So as you think about your life, if you want, well, how about I'll tell you the story. So once upon a time in the old country, and I don't know, you can figure out wherever it is and how old the old country is, there was a little boy, and each morning he would wake up and he would hear this noise, and it would go, and he was like, what is that noise? What is that noise? And so every morning he'd wake up, he would do his chores, and he would hear that noise. some monks on top of the hill. And the son said, well, what is it? And the father said, I don't know, it's the monks on top of the hill. So every day the little boy would get up and he would hear that noise. And it just drove him crazy. And so when he turned 18, he said, I'm going to leave home and I'm going to visit the monastery on the hill to see what's going on with the monks. And so he packed up his little bags and he walked, and it took him 5 weeks to get to the top of the hill. And every morning as he would sleep on his journey, he would hear that noise. And finally he got to the gates of the monastery and he talked to the monk. He said, Mr. Monk, what is that noise? He said, my son, you must first consecrate yourself for 5 years before you can become a monk. He said, okay, I'll do it because I have to know what that noise is. And so for 5 years he did his little monthly chores, and he used to sweep and he had to shave his head and he couldn't talk. And so for 5 years he would hear that noise. And he would see the monks come in and out of the building, and he'd just hear that noise. And so after 5 years, he had finally become a monk. He had got all his monk clothes on, and he said, come on down. He said, I'm a monk now. He said, what is that noise? And the monk said, my son, you have to consecrate yourself for 1 more year until you become a senior monk. He said, okay. And so he did his senior monk stuff. He had to write and he had to do all this stuff, and he would hear that noise. And he would see the other monks. They would line up and they would go into this big cathedral, and inside the cathedral was this big door. They would walk into this room and they would come out, and the noise would get louder every time they opened the door. And when they left out of the room, this shine, this glory would just be on their face when they would come out. So finally, after a year, it was his turn. He had become a senior monk. And so he got in line. He was the last one in line, and he heard the noise. And he got closer and closer to the door. They had these big brass rings on the doors as his hands were shaking, and the noise was just... And he could just feel it in his body. His whole body was shaking. He finally opened the door, and do you know what he saw? Do you know what he saw? I don't know. You have to become a monk to find out. So, as we think about the things that we want to do in life, we have to begin to prepare ourselves. We have to go through the journey to get to the place where we want to be. So, sharpening that blade is like that first stage when he became a monk. He had to get in there. He had to learn and get the information that he needed to become a monk. And then he had to get that fine-tune himself to get to that level of perfection so he could see behind that door. He had to be willing to pay the price. There's a cost to getting to the place where we want to go. There's a cost to it. It takes work. There's an old saying, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. I see a lot of you all practicing your instruments. And so some of us think that, yes, God has called me on this path, and I'm just going to wake up and I'm just going to do it. Right? They think it's just like this. Okay, God, you've called me. I'm there. Boom! No, it doesn't happen like that. Sometimes it happens like this. There's a lot of things that happen in life that some of it's frustration on our part. Some of it's caused by other people. Sometimes we just forget where God is calling us. So success takes a lot of work. To become your ideal self, I'm sitting here telling you there are 5 easy steps to live your ideal life. Yeah, there are 5 steps, but they're not easy, young people. They're not easy. It's going to take work and commitment on your part to get to where God has called you to be. To get from 5th grade to become a senior, it takes some work, right? You don't just sit in class and coast on through, You'll be sitting in the same seat year after year if you think you're just going to coast. This is my beautiful daughter, who was this girl right here, who was an 8th grader and had a funky attitude when she was from 8th through the 9th grade. Didn't want to do anything. I was like, man, what happened to my beautiful daughter that was, that was so gifted and so talented? She became shy. She became introverted. And I was worried about her, really worried about her. And, even almost until she was a junior, she was so outgoing. Then we moved from Virginia to Texas, and then she kind of got into the shell. She became, got to a school that was very cliquish, very elitist, and this is how elitist the school that my children go to. And I'm not balling like this, okay? I promise you all, I'm not balling like this working for the church. David Robinson, Hall of Fame basketball player, his kids go to the same school my daughter went to. All right, so there's some people at our school. For show and tell, I brought some, what did I bring for show and tell? I brought some paperweights and some pens from Mennonite Church USA. You know, for what did your dad do? That's what I brought. Another guy brought Tim Duncan's Ferrari. That's how the people in my kids' school roll. And tuition is about what it is here. So my daughter, now this picture she posted on Facebook, she was just chosen to be co-captain of the cheerleading team at the University of Texas. A lot has changed. And people say, well, she's lucky. Some people may think, how she's lucky? Do you know how much money I paid for gymnastics? From the time she was 5 to, for 4 years of gymnastics, the sacrifices that she made and all of the tumbling, and she messed up a knee and tore her ACL, all those things to get to the top of where she is now. It didn't happen overnight. A lot of heartache from us as parents and a lot of heartache from her. That's what it takes, young people. And some of you all sitting here right now may be going through some things that you don't have any friends, you just feel isolated, you don't measure up to the people next to you, you don't measure up to people in your family. All those things are temporary. I guarantee you put in the work, do the thing that God has called you to do, and it will pay off. Again, don't compare yourself to someone else. Don't compare yourself to my daughter or me or whoever. But figure out that thing that God is calling you to do and do it. Do it. Be passionate about it. And this, like I said, she started cheering and tumbling when she was like 5. She's 5, and so she's 18. That's 13 years of work. 13 years of work for her to finally get into that groove to become a leader and co-captain and realize her gifts. Now this next girl, this girl is lazy right here. This girl right here. I spent some time with her last night, right? And she won't crawl. She's 10 months old. She won't crawl. I was spending some time with her, and we put something on the floor for her to crawl to. She was just like, I'm not gonna move. I'm just, you gonna bring it to me? That's her attitude, and so she hasn't put in the work yet. But I think she'll be successful. It doesn't take a little. I mean, she was just like right there. I said, I'm not gonna move. I'm not gonna get it. She was just like, nope, you're gonna bring it to me. But eventually, that's Tim's niece right here. I was with her last night. But she'll put in the work one day, I'm sure. So it takes effort. Even babies have to put forth the effort to get to the place, to that next phase in life. It just doesn't happen automatically. A good Bible story about this. Let's read this scripture really quickly. Genesis chapter 37, we're talking about the story of Joseph. One night Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, listen, I'm sorry, I'm saying y'all mind. He said, we were out in the field tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly, and your bundles all gathered around mine, and his brothers responded, do you actually think you will reign over us? And they hated him all the more. And the way he talked about them. That's life. So we know that Joseph in the Bible had a calling from God. He even had a dream, like Martin Luther King. He had a dream of where God was taking him. And did he get there immediately? No, it took some time. Right? It took some time. She's like, it took some time, that's right. It took years, it took some heartache, some heartbreak. He had people hating on him. And he had to endure and push through all of that to get to the place where God had called him to. And that's life. Other people, that's life. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to work hard sometimes. You're going to have people that hate you. People are going to isolate you. You may even suffer because of the call that God has placed on your life. And sometimes we as American Christians don't realize that. We have everything so good. I've said this in a couple of classes. When we walk into a room and turn the lights on, the lights come on. When we turn the faucets, water comes out of it. We typically don't have to worry about those things in America. Even our poor people can go to a building and sometimes get food, get clothes, and shelter. And I've been in countries where they say, hey, we're going to go to the soup kitchen. We drive up to the soup kitchen and it's a dump. in the middle of nowhere. The soup kitchen is the back of a trunk where you can get a cup of broth out of a 5-gallon bucket and a slice of bread while you sit in the middle of a trash pile where you live. So even some of our poorest people in our country don't suffer as much as other places. And we as Americans feel like any kind of adversity that we have, oh, God doesn't love me, God doesn't love me. No, sometimes we have to put it into work. Sometimes God is preparing us. Sometimes if you're an athlete, you understand. It takes a lot of physical effort to get to that elite level. You have to run around that track a lot of times before you get to the race. If you're playing a guitar, it's a lot of calluses that have to build up on the tips of your finger before you can play that nice bass lick. So hardship sometimes is part of our life. We have to realize there's a process that we have to go through. And remember that as you live your life, as you pursue that calling, that success won't always be a straight line. And we want to get to the place where our calling, that's what I like. I want to work here, my calling, what God has called me to do. I don't want to just do a job each and every day. And some of you will do jobs, and that's okay. But there's also, if you begin to prepare yourself, you want to live a life where your calling and your opportunity are the same, where they match up. Because sometimes people will offer you things that don't line up with your calling, and I say run from those things. It may be good for them, but it may not be where God is calling you to. People will offer you things and say, hey, you ought to do this, you should do this. And some of us want to jump onto those opportunities. But, like I said yesterday, if we realize what direction God has called us to, we know we'll avoid opportunities that don't equal our calling. So practical things. I always like to give people practical things when I speak. I don't want to just tell you a whole bunch of stuff, make you feel good, but you don't have a practical way of living it out. And teachers, this is a good project maybe that you can have for your students to do. But create a vision board for yourself to try to figure out what it is God is calling you to do. A vision board. So you get a board, put pictures of things that either help you get to your dream or the dreams that you have. Like if you want to be a fashion designer, maybe cut out some pictures from fashion magazines and put them on your vision board. Set some goals, write those things on your vision board and sit that in front of in your room so that you can look at it and reflect on it. Try new things. Experiment. You all are young. Try new things to figure out what it is God is calling you to do. Seek God. Pray. Ask for guidance. Ask questions of people who are doing things that you are interested in. Understand the cost of what it takes. If you want to be an athlete, talk to other athletes to figure out, hey, what does it take to get to your level of performance? And seek to please God. First and foremost, seek to please God in your life. Because you don't want to just wake up every day and I'm going to go to this job, I'm going to go to this job. No, seek to please God. Do something meaningful with your life. So let's just close out. Dear God, I just thank you once again for this opportunity just to share with young people. God, help us to endure both the good times and the hard times. Lead us and guide us as we walk daily. Speak to us daily, God. Help us to live lives that are pleasing to you, God, and help us to do the things that will prepare us for the place that you're calling us to. God, we just thank you for your grace. And God, we just thank you for the strength and love that will carry us through the ups and downs of life. So we just thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.